All right, all right, all right. What's going on? Welcome to the Tour Junkies Masters 2020 betting podcast. We just finished listening to our good friend, fellow Augusta native, Charles Howell III, playing in, I think, his 12th Masters this coming week. David Barnett here of the Tour Junkies, Pat Perry with me. This is our like what, sixth Masters that we've done. We've been doing Tour Junkies for that long.
Wow, man.
I believe the first one started with you making fun of Stephen Bowditch, and then him finding out about it, and then us getting him on the show for you to have a heartfelt apology. That was a legendary Tour Junkies moment.
I mean, think if we had never done the Masters preview show.
Yeah, that's true. That was a
we did it like a few weeks in advance, and then he caught word, and then we got to have him on the actual show, which was awesome, and
man,
turned out to be a good friend of the Tour Junkies.
We've come a long way. Hope you guys are feeling good. We were recording this on Saturday afternoon before the Masters. We wanted to get this content out early. Here's the deal. We're going to go through the betting odds right now and kind of go through some names that are catching our eye that we think you might want to look at. But here's the deal. Things are going to change. As it stands right now, we're going to talk through who we like, who we don't like. But you're going to want to listen to the DFS podcast if you haven't already. We kind of get deep into the field there. If you do listen to the DFS podcast, you need to know that the first 20 so minutes of that is the same Charles Howell interview that you just heard here on this podcast. So you can skip through that, go straight to the picks. We're going to have a ton of content coming out on tourjunkies.com earlier than normal. You should have 20 key stats that you need to know from our boy Ben Little. We'll hit the website by Sunday night or Monday. My betting card will probably start taking shape on Monday afternoon. Pat's fantasy golf sommelier, which I hear is going to be extra special this week. I'm excited about that. That's probably going to be what, Monday or Tuesday, you think?
I'm hoping to get it done Monday. That's Monday. The goal. That's the goal.
I'm going to have the Pivot Point article up for DFS by probably Tuesday night or Wednesday. We're going to do some live stuff on Wednesday on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Just be on the lookout. Follow us on all those channels if you're not already. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already. Instagram and Tour Junkies are at Tour_Junkies on Instagram and Twitter. Check those out. We're going to do some live, maybe listener Q&A real quick. The big deal is going to be Wednesday night, the Tour Junkies members-only Nut Hut chat room on Discord is going to be popping on Wednesday night. We're going to have at least a couple of hours with me, Pat, and Ben talking it up in the Nut Hut. Over $3 million has been won by Nut Hut members since the restart. That place is popping. You need to go to tourjunkies.com, check that out, and join if you haven't already. We'll talk about that more a little bit later. So ton of stuff going on. It's going to be a great week. Let's get into this. Pat, based on what we heard from Charles Howell, based on what we already know of Augusta National, talk to me about your approach to picking guys, betting guys, how the course is going to set up to play, you think, the meat that we're taking from the Charles Howell interview.
Well, I think right off the bat, the biggest thing that people want to talk about is how is this course going to play different than it usually does in April? Because as we know, the Masters is always in April, first full week in April, and we're getting it in November. The weather, though, looks interesting. It doesn't look like it's going to be all that cold. We are going to get a little bit of rain early in the week, but other than that, you're talking 70s and 80s, which is what you might see in April. So I think the weather is shaping out to be pretty good for this tournament. But Charles mentioned, that the course will play a little bit softer than it typically does. You're not going to get a whole lot of bounce in these fairways like we might get in April with some of the rain that we're going to get early in the week, but also just the way it is. I mean, he talked about the Bermuda still having a little bit of a prevailing factor underneath that rye, because what they do is they take that Bermuda grass, they overseed it with rye in the fall. Well, by the time you get to the spring in April, the rye is fully taken over and it is established. Whereas right now it's not as established as you might see in April. So I think that's something we're going to be interested to see. But it all goes back to the fact that this course is still going to be an approach course. I mean, you've got to approach these greens. You got to be good with your ball striking. You got to hit these greens in the right spot. You got to have some experience here. We're going to talk about some first-time winners, which I do think there's an opportunity for some first-time winners this year. But experience is key around these greens, on these greens, approaching these greens. That is where the meat of this course is, and that's what I'm going to be looking at the most. Is who are the guys that are hitting their irons great right now, who's putting well, who's good at scrambling. I think all of those things are going to be important because the course itself, look, the greens are going to be just as fast as they always are. They're going to be just as pure as they always are. That's not going to change at all, regardless if we're playing this in November or April. They're still going to get them lightning quick, and they're going to have a ton of slope in them. So, I'm still going to be looking at the type player that I would look at typically in April is what I'm kind of zeroing in on this week for November Masters.
I agree. I mean, November in Augusta can look a lot like April in Augusta. It could be really cold one day and warm the next. It could happen. And listen, this weather can change on a dime. You and I grew up here. We both live here our whole lives, basically. It can change on a dime. So keep paying attention to it. As it looks right now, it does look to be a little wet next week. Yes, they have sub-air all over the place, but they can only take out so much moisture in the fairways because of that overseed you mentioned. So it is going to play longer. I'm going to favor long hitters. With the exception of a few guys, I'm going to favor long hitters. But let's key stats for me: strokes gained off the tee, distance, strokes gained approach, strokes gained around the green, putting on bent grass surfaces. All that will get a little bit of weight, obviously recent form, and we know course history is huge at Augusta. It is the #1 course according to Data Golf, according to a lot of other places and people, and just your eyeballs that course history matters here at Augusta. There's just things that you learn every single year. Even Tiger mentioned that last year, that every year he learns something new and files it away, and that's very, very real. So while Charles mentioned and while we just mentioned that first-timers do have a better chance this year at winning than they probably ever have or will without patrons, because that does take away an element of intimidation factor or anxiety or whatever that may be. It's not in their favor that they're going to win. But we're going to talk about a couple first-timers. All the stats, all the data that we pull out for this podcast is coming to you from fantasynational.com. It is the place we've been for the last 3 or 4 years to get all of our PGA Tour stats, data, ownership stuff, leverage stuff for DFS. Now, new thing. They just signed a deal with CDW and ShotLink that provides and takes all the data for the PGA Tour. So now all the data at Fantasy National is completely certified by CDW for both the PGA Tour and Korn Ferry Tour. So there's a lot of places out there you can look at stats, but they're not all getting data from the source, and you could be misled. At Fantasy National, that is not the case. We've been working with them for so long. If you go to fantasynational.com/TJ, or when you sign up and they ask how you heard about us, type in Tour Junkies, you get 20% off of any membership that you select. You can select weekly, monthly, or annually. And if you change your membership from weekly to monthly or monthly to yearly or whatever, you still get to keep the 20% off. So give it a shot for the Masters. I guarantee you're going to love it. If you're handicapping golf at any capacity, Fantasy National is a must. So when you hear us talk about stats over the last 24 rounds or 50 rounds or whatever, course history, recent form, all that we're pulling straight off of fantasynational.com/TJ. Check it out. Let's talk about, I think a couple of things I want to lay out there for the people, for the betting show. I want to first look at trends. I think there's some interesting trends when you're looking at betting and finding winners, because, it's Saturday afternoon. There's not a lot out there on the betting market other than outrights at the moment. Obviously, only betting outrights is not a great betting strategy for you to win money over the long term. You're probably going to lose. That's a tough bet to nail. Although we love betting outrights, that's kind of our favorite. But we do this recreationally. We do it for fun, so we don't mind losing money. You should too. But, you're going to have to pay attention to the Tour Junkies social channels, website come Tuesday, Wednesday for matchups, top 20s, top 10s, that kind of thing. There's going to be a ton of matchups, I'm sure, in the Chalk Bomb email that you can subscribe to on tourjunkies.com. But for today, we're talking outrights, and we are going to look at maybe nationality names, first-timer names. If you get websites where you can bet on those guys, bet on those winners to come out of, Canada, top Canadian, top Australian, you can have that. And, there's also a lot of people who are playing like pools, Masters pools, Calcuttas, or something where you pick a, player out of A column, B column, C column kind of thing. So we'll try to get you into all that and not just mention the outrights, but just some trends, Pat. Over the last 10 years, 9 of the last 10 winners were under the age of 40. 10 of the last 10 winners ranked inside the world golf ranking top 30. 7 of the last 10 have played in at least 3 Masters. Pretty crazy. 7 of the last 10 have posted a top 20 at the Masters. 10 of the last 10 have posted a top 10 earlier in that season. So, and actually out of the last 10 years, the world number 1 has not won the Masters. So Dustin Johnson, I think as it stands right now, is world number 1, right? So the trend would point to no-go on DJ there. I thought it would also be good to look at, just to throw some names out there, your top 10 strokes gained total at Augusta over the last 5 years. Okay, this is course history, right? So who's gained the most strokes over the last 5 years? Number 1, Jordan Spieth. 57 strokes gained over the last 5 years. Obviously, that's a win, a runner-up, a third-place finish.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah,
that doesn't surprise me.
Rory is next, followed by Justin Rose, Dustin Johnson. Now, Dustin Johnson's gained 41 strokes over the last 5 years in only 4 tournaments because, remember, he fell down the stairs. So obviously he's got an incredible history here. My boy, Hideki Matsuyama, Ricky Fowler, Jason Day, Paul Casey, John Rahm in only 3 years, and Brooks Koepka also in only 4 years after his, I think it was his wrist injury or something that he had.
Yeah.
So those are your top 10. Now, I also want to provide your bottom 10 in strokes gained total over the last 5 years with at least some, and I want these to be like somewhat relevant names or guys with a little bit of, have played more than once. Actually, the worst one, minus 15 strokes gained in 3 Masters, Tyrrell Hatton. Pretty terrible. Gary Woodland, who's hurt right now, back injury. Don't know if Gary's going to play or not, but he's played in 4 Masters and he's lost nearly 10 shots. Shane Lowry has played in 4 Masters, lost nearly 9 shots. Shez Reavie, Graham McDowell, pretty terrible. Billy Horschel's played in 4 of the last 5 and lost nearly 8 shots. Let's see, who else here? Byung-Hun An's played in 2 Masters, lost about a stroke. Zach Johnson in his last 5, not doing very well. And Kevin Na. So those are kind of your worst form over the last 5 years, relevant names in the field. And finally, I want to go with the 10 hottest players on the PGA Tour right now. If you look since the restart, who's gained the most strokes total since the restart? And it goes like this. Xander Schauffele, number 1. Dustin Johnson, 2. Justin Thomas, 3. Bryson, 4. Rahm, 5. Simpson, 6. Finau, 7. Jason Kokrak, 8. Patrick Reed, 9. And Patrick Cantlay, number 10. Those are the guys coming in with, the most strokes gained in the last since the restart. A lot of good form coming out of those players. So just some thoughts, just some things to kind of lay the foundation. You know what I mean, Pat? Just some names to kind of kick around. If maybe you're listening and you're thinking, I think I might want a little snack, a little Tyrrell Hatton snack on my betting card. It's not been good.
I mean, you threw out I wish I'd had that stat when I was just talking about him on the TFS show as one of my fades. But anyway.
Yeah, not good.
Okay. Yeah.
Before we get into the bets and the outrights, I do want to remind everybody that we've got something going on over at Thrive Fantasy right now. Now, Thrive Fantasy is a little bit like – that's why I wanted to talk about it on the betting show. It's a little bit like props betting because they give you 10 player props, and you choose 5 that you want. So you pick the 5 that you like the most, and you lock those in, and you eliminate all the other stuff. It's all the noise is gone. You just 10 props. Which 5 do you like? It's very nice. And each prop is assigned a points value, like a fantasy points value for the over or the under, and you get to pick which one you want. And if you hit the most props, rack up the most points out of the contest, like maybe you're playing a contest with 50 other people, you win that share of the prize pool. They have new contests for every round of the event, so you don't have to sweat the golfers if they miss a cut and they mess up your weekend. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be very nice. So, I mean, there's going to be some good props there. We played this week on the Houston. Haven't seen the props yet for the Masters, but I'm sure they're going to be good. We'll put up some of our favorites in probably on Instagram or something like that. But if you go to thrivefantasy.com, or you can download the Thrive Fantasy app, use promo code TOUR when you sign up, and you receive an instant deposit match up to $100. Promo code TOUR, instant deposit match. There's money to be made over there on Thrive Fantasy. So download the app or go to thrivefantasy.com and sign up and prop up today. Today. All right, Pat, let's do this. We're looking at DraftKings Sportsbook and PointsBet Sportsbook. Let's start at the top of the board, buddy. Anybody from, Bryson, who's obviously the favorite, to like a top, or to like 20 or 25 to 1, where are you going to look, or who's kind of tickling your special spot right there?
Well, if we're talking about tickling the special spot, I'll have to start with Xander Schauffele at 14 to 1. He's at that number on both DraftKings and PointsBet, so it doesn't matter which one you want to bet on. You're going to get him at 14 to 1. I think that's about as short as I want to go, and I love Xander next week. I think he is a fantastic play. We saw him play great last year. He's a guy that's kind of sneaky long. Somebody you don't really, he may be, you just don't really think of him as being that long off the tee, but he really is. He's got a great game for this course, as he showed last year. So I like Xander at 14 to 1. The next guy I'll go to, and I just love this price, and that is Patrick Cantlay. He's at 22 to 1 on DraftKings, 22 to 1 on PointsBet. So same, just like Xander. I think that is a great price for him. I mean, and it's you look at it, it's probably about where you would expect him to be. I don't think you would expect him to be that much shorter than when you look at the guys ahead of him. But again, another guy who has a great game for this course, had a good finish last year. So I like Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. I think those are the two guys. If we're going 25 to 1 and better or shorter, those are going to be the guys that I'm pinpointing on. May have a little bit of Finau, even though I know Finau's not a winner. He doesn't have that, kind of closing. I don't want to say he's not a winner, because he's a winner. He's got a personal spirit that's a winner, but he hasn't really won it on tour except for once. And so he's another guy that you just wonder what he can do. But it's 2020. This is probably going to be when he wins. He's going to win a real tournament, and it's going to be a major. It's going to be the Masters.
Okay.
So there
probably should mention over the last 5 years, Tiger won last year at around 18 to 1. So right in this range we're talking about. Spieth won in 15 at 16 to 1 in this range. But other than that, out of the last 5 years, the other 3 winners have come from longer. You had Patrick Reed in 2018 win at 50 to 1 or 60 to 1. By the way, we nailed that one. Talked that one up. Sergio won before that at 30 to 1, and then one of my most famous bets that I've ever hit, Danny Willett at 150 to 1 in 2016 after Spieth dunked it in the water. I bet him in November at 150 to 1. Forgot I had the ticket until until Spieth was on number 16 and Willett was closing it out. Lovely time there. Me and Jeff Feinberg shared some joy that day. But so 2 of the last 5 winners have come from this shorter range here. But for me, I mean, I definitely don't mind the Xander call. I mean, Xander's as poised as anybody to win this thing. He's in great form. He's got a great record here. Couldn't agree more with you there. I do want to talk about Tony Finau. You mentioned him, and he's a better value on. Let's see. I think he's a better value on PointsBet. So I was going to wait, but since you did it, I'm gonna get into it. I love Tony Finau here. He's at 33 to 1 on PointsBet. He's at 25 to 1 on DraftKings. So grab the value on PointsBet if you can. Listen, I know he's not a killer. I know he hasn't won, but you said stranger things could happen in 2020. His form is so good. He checks so many boxes: off the tee, approach, par 5 scoring. He's played the Masters twice and finished 10th and 5th. It's a magic place, and he's got some magic around it. And I just think he's a fitting Masters champion. It would just be a great thing to see him break through and do it. And while he's not closed the door when he's had opportunities, he's had some rough Sundays, He's had some very rough Sundays. But I think he's got enough scar tissue built that I could see it happening. So for his talent and his record here so far in just 2 tries, 33-1 is a good number. I really like that. To stay within the 25 range, I like Patrick Reed again. I mean, he's 25-1 on PointsBet. He's a little bit better on DraftKings at 28-1. I still like Reed here. He's a killer. He's opposite of Finau in that he's a killer. From a ball striking standpoint, he's not as good, but he knows his way around Augusta. The short game is impeccable. He seems to go under the radar all the time. So I don't mind a little Patrick Reed either. I think Koepka's interesting at 20-1. This is kind of the last one I'm looking at. And he's more interesting to me now. He's 20-1 on DraftKings. He's more interesting to me now to see how good he's playing in Houston right now. We have not seen a lot of form out of Koepka. He's been battling the injury. He's withdrawn from a couple of events, but to see how good he's hitting it in Houston right now, and I like to see that. Would there be anything more Koepka than coming into this tournament where Bryson is the guy that he kind of has this like social media beef with, seemingly, who's getting all the talk and all the conversation and the odds-on favorite in any book? Would there be anything more alpha for Koepka to do than to win this golf tournament, win the Masters right out from under Bryson?
I think it could entirely happen. As a matter of fact, you just got me thinking, if I'm doing a pool and I want to and I've got like the A players, like if you got like a few A players, if I went with like a Rory Brooks combo in the A slots, I'd feel pretty comfortable about that and where your leverage is in a pool or something. But anyway,
probably a little contrarian there is, I think in the pool stuff, you're going to see a lot of Bryson and Dustin Johnson stuff, a lot of Xander, I think. But yeah, in pool play, I like it. I like to see what we're seeing out of him in Houston right now. I really do. Now he squeaked in and made the cut. I think just maybe one shot better than the cut line, but he's playing good on the weekend so far. So, we didn't talk about Bryson. I mean, we talked about him ad nauseum in the DFS show as well as with Charles a little bit. Me and Pat don't ever bet outright favorites. We just don't. So, I mean, I'm not going to have any Bryson in terms of betting. And I do think in pool play could be worth a fade. In DFS, I made the case for playing him in DFS as of now. I may change my mind, but I've made the case for playing him in that. But for outrights, I'm not going to take him at 8-1. Just not going to do it. Too many good names here. The record at Augusta's a little lacking. There's obviously a lot to be made about his iron play. Wedge play hasn't been great. But I do love the opportunities that he's going to give himself on these par fives. And we all know you got to score well on the par fives. So any other thoughts on Bryson?
No, we talked about him a lot on the DFS show, and I'm not going to take him this short. So yeah, whatever. If you want to play him, that's fine.
All right, let's look at kind of the middle of the board, maybe that 30-1 to maybe a 70-1 look. What do you think there?
All right, so at the top of that range, and I've mentioned him before. I talked about him on the U.S. Open. Matthew Wolff at 33-1. I think those are good odds for him. I love him this week. Look at him versus Colin Morikawa, who's right there with him. I'm a bigger fan of Wolff as far as just the upside on this course, and he's been playing better than Morikawa has lately. And he's a first-timer, I know. And look, I think he's one of those guys that is unfazed by any of that talk. He's not going to have fans, so he's not going to have to worry about that. He's not going to. I think the pressure is going to be a little bit less for these first-timers, especially the ones that are like a Morikawa or like a Wolff. So I like that number for him at 33-1. Another guy I really like too, and right there beside him is Hideki. I mean, Hideki could easily be up there in that 25-1 and less category. Yet you're getting him at 33-1 on PointsBet. He's 35-1 on DraftKings. I think Hideki has a tremendous upside. We know he's one of the best players in the world. You're getting him at a pretty good price there, so I like him. And if we go up to just to 50-1, I think Louis Oosthuizen at 50-1 is a good number for him. I like him a lot. He's obviously won majors before. He finished well here. So I think at 50-1, that's another good number. And by the way, he's 50-1 on both sites, PointsBet and DraftKings. So there you go.
So we kind of got into this argument on our radio show on Golf Nut Nation. I don't like the Wolf bet. I don't like the 33-1 Wolf bet. I don't mind Wolf here, but I think that's too short for the first timer. If I'm going to bet a first timer to win outright, I want to go deeper, like in the same range. Scotty Scheffler at 66-1, who, has this very similar skill set to Matt Wolff, maybe not showing as solid a form or they've both been kind of hit or miss, like either really, really good or shockingly bad, and bad being like a 50th or maybe a miscut. But I think, why would you not get Scheffler at 66-1? It's basically the same player. I don't like the value at Wolff. And then if I were going to bet a guy at 33-1, I don't mind Tiger at 30-1. Like, I know Tiger hasn't. I know he hasn't been playing well.
He's not winning. He's not winning, and that's what you're doing an outright for.
There is no way you are going to say that right now on this podcast. We just ended the Charles Howell conversation saying you can't count Tiger out anytime. Are you kidding me? After he won the Masters last year, you're going to say he's not winning? Are you insane? What do you want to? I'm going to give you a chance to retract that.
No, he's not winning. I'm saying that right now.
Okay, well, it's one thing to say like he's not winning because he's one player out of the field, but so you're saying you don't think he has a chance at winning this event? Based on what?
He does have a snowball's chance in hell of actually winning. I will put it that way.
Okay, wow. The form has not been fantastic. That's where you're going. I mean, that's the leg you have to stand on right now. The form's not been great. Despite all that, in the last 24 rounds, he still checks the box in strokes gained approach right now. He's still hitting the irons well. The driver's been a little awry. The scrambling and putting has been a little lackluster. But the scrambling and putting, he's going to come to Augusta and have a major edge on people when it comes to that. I will say this. If you're going to ever get a really good number for Tiger, you're probably getting it right now. I feel like 30-1 is a good number for him.
So I guess I'll
he's 22-1 on PointsBet. He's 22-1 on PointsBet, 30-1 on DraftKings.
I don't want him at 22-1. But
I'm not saying I love the bet. I'm just saying I would rather have a 30-1 Tiger with all that experience than a 33-1 Colin Morikawa, Matt Wolff. I would much rather have that. Okay. I love your Louis Oosthuizen call at 50-1. I've already bet it. Absolutely love it for all the reasons you mentioned. Great record here. Should have been a winner here. Love him. Adam Scott at 50-1 I think is interesting, and I think that number is going to get shorter if you don't jump on it. It's 50-1 on DraftKings. It's already down to 33-1 on PointsBet. He's playing well in Houston right now, which I think people are waiting to see because the form, we haven't had a chance to see a lot out of him, but he's playing okay. I think that's an interesting number at 50-1. He's a little long in the tooth now. He's over 40, I think, or 40, which for the trends that I mentioned earlier, I think younger players tend to win this thing outside of Tiger last year, I guess. So Scott at 51. The last one I'll mention is Paul Casey, which is a little off. I haven't mentioned him at all on any show, but Paul Casey at 66-1 is, I feel like there's a value there. He's 50-1 on PointsBet, 66-1 on DK. Remember when Paul Casey almost won the PGA Championship? Does anybody remember that? Like, he was runner up and had a chance, and Morikawa closed the door, which, and he's got a long-standing record at Augusta, knows this place well. I don't know. Maybe he gets some monkey off his back. I mean, if Sergio Garcia could finally close the door and win a major, which he did in 2017 with the Masters, why couldn't Paul Casey do it? You know what I mean?
I don't mind it. He's a guy that kind of, I think, is just sort of flying under the radar a little bit, and then you get that's a pretty good price for him. So,
well, I mean, the form has been a little spotty as well since the restart. other than the PGA and the U.S. Open, where he's played pretty well. But lately, Zozo, CJ Cup, Shriners, pretty bad. But I think he'll be geared up and tuned up for the Masters. I think that's an interesting value on Paul Casey. Before we go further, I do have to mention to people that we have a contest for the Masters. We do one every year. They're always jam up. I'm excited about this year's contest because, Pat, we have access to the Masters patron shop online this year. And we've made some purchases for the listeners. So we're going to take two winners. Two winners are going to get this prize pack: a 2020 Masters pin flag, a 2020 Masters shirt that says 2020 Masters Augusta National on it, t-shirt, and a brand new, in the wrapper, tailor-made black Tour Spider putter right here. If you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing it in the camera. I think you can see that. It's pretty gangster. You can see it on our social media channels. Two people are going to win that prize pack. Here's how you win it. You simply become an annual member of our Nut Hut. The Nut Hut is our 24/7 member-only chat room on Discord. Do people say chat room anymore? Is that? Am I dating myself by saying chat room? That's like an AOL instant messenger thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, if you are already a annual subscriber, thank you. You're already entered to win. If you are a subscriber, but you're a monthly subscriber at $10 a month, and you up your membership to the annual $90 a year membership, then you will get an entry. And if you're not a member at all and you sign up brand new for a $90 a year annual membership to the Nut Hut, you get an entry, one entry per person, and you got a good shot at winning this thing. I mean, it's not like we have thousands of people that are members of the Nut Hut. We have thousands of people listening, but there's only a few hundred of you that are members of the Nut Hut. So you got a shot. We're going to do a live drawing on our social channels on maybe Thursday or Friday and draw two winners, and we'll ship all that to you. Get your Masters merch, even though you can't be there, and a nice putter from TaylorMade. Now, if you don't know what the Nut Hut is, where you been? To sign up for the Nut Hut, you go to tourjunkies.com, click on GOALBY'S Nut Hut, sign up, put your email in, join, and then you'll be kicked over to the Discord service. We use the Discord app, which is fantastic. There's a great app for your phone, an app for your desktop. Somebody is in there chatting 24/7 in our chat room, and it's fantastic. We have so many sharp players in there. Me and Pat are probably not the sharpest players in there. We have so many sharp fans and listeners in there all the time talking golf. Every Wednesday night, we do our live chat with me or Pat and Ben Little, who writes a chalk bomb. The chat's always popping. We get a ton of great insight there. We get caddy insight basically every single week that we share strictly on the Nut Hut. So it's probably not going to matter as much on this course this week, but for most weeks on the PGA Tour, we have caddies that tell us about the conditions, about what's how this is playing, how this is shaping up to be. And it's valuable insight to help you handicap golf. So you get all that. And if you're a Nut Hut member, you get 20% off of any item in the Tour Junkies shop for as long as you're a member. So it's well worth the money. It will definitely pay for itself. Sign up for the annual membership. It's only $90 for the entire year, and enter to win one of our two prize packs. Pretty excited about it. The Nut Hut is going to be jamming on Sunday night or Wednesday night. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're hoping to have some green screens. Like I said, since the restart in June, Nut Hut members have won over $3 million betting and playing DFS. Pretty insane. We had our buddy Matthew Moore, Nut Hut member, won the Millie Maker on DraftKings, won $1 million for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So good stuff. All right, let's get to kind of the longer range numbers, Pat. Let's look at like 80-1 and longer. Let's go there. Let's start at the bottom. Like, who's the longest shot that you're willing to throw a little change on?
I don't really have many that are much past 100-1.
Ooh, okay.
I think if I'm going to look at a few, or maybe if you give me one guy that I'm going to go with over 100-1, I would probably say a guy that's another first timer, Eric Van Rooyen. He's at 150-1 on PointsBet. He is what is he on DraftKings? He's actually, he's 150 to 1 on DraftKings as well. So I think he's one guy that I might, take a little bit of a flyer on. But other than that, over the 100 to 1 range, I don't think I really have anybody.
Okay. Well, you know me. I mean, I love the long shots. Stevie loves the long shots. So I have a handful here. This is where I kind of want to take a shot on a first-timer. And the value that I'm getting on this first-timer is really, to me, it's really, really good. And he's 100 to 1 on both PointsBet and DraftKings, and it's Jason Kokrak. Just won his first PGA Tour event on, I believe it was a CJ Cup a couple weeks ago. Checks all the boxes. I mean, hits it a long way, gain strokes on par fives, irons have been spectacular, decent short game. And while this is his first Masters, he's long in the tooth, right? Like Jason Kokrak's played in some big events. He's played in a ton of majors. And so with a patronless event, I feel like if there's a first timer to win this thing, I'd rather have my money on Jason Kokrak than any other first timer. That's just that's how I feel. So big fan of Kokrak this week. I'm excited to see maybe the top 10, top 20 numbers on him. He may be, that's going to be a longer number in this limited field, but there's only what 90 something players in this field. So I'm interested to see that number, but I love Kokrak at 100 to 1. I think opposite of him is an old man, long in the tooth, but with a ton of history here, who's been playing very, very well. And that's Lee Westwood at 100 to 1. I'm surprised you didn't mention old Lee Westwood.
I thought you might, so I was kind of leaving him out for you.
Okay. Well, he missed the cut at the Houston Open. He came over and played the Houston Open. Missed the cut, but I don't really care about that. He's been playing very solid on the European Tour all year. Played solid on the PGA Tour in the limited events that he's played in. He's been doing good. He's a ball striker. He knows Augusta National like the back of his hand. He's got a great record here. I mean, fantastic record here. And I feel like, too, with Westwood, it's like he's got nothing to lose. Like, just Charles mentioned it. We talked about Westwood in the show with Charles, and he's like, yeah, I mean, Westwood's going to come out here and fire at flags. I love it. I'm going to get even longer on you, man. I'm going to go with my boy Siwoo Kim, 150 to 1. Oh. This is his fourth Masters. Wait, why do you say Siwoo?
I like Siwoo. I never get him right. So that's really what I had him outright last week, and he missed the cut. So
he's gotten increasingly better as he's had chances at Augusta National. Missed cut his first time out, 24th after that, and a 21st last year. Putts decently good on bent grass for him, and he's checking a lot of boxes. Missed the cut at the Houston Open, but I don't care. He missed it on the number. Other than that, his form's been extremely solid since the restart. 150 to 1. I don't mind Siwoo. And then I'm going to give you two more bombs. Corey Connors, 200 to 1, who's playing really well right now in Houston. Another guy who has improved. This is only his third Masters, I believe. Yep, third Masters. Missed the cut in his first one, and then made the cut after that at T46 last year. He's a PGA Tour winner. Great ball striker. For him, it's all about the putter. And I think the pure bent grass greens at Augusta, his third time around, I think he'll putt okay. If he could putt average, field average, with his ball striking and his ability to hit fairways and greens, Corey Connors could be in it at 200 to 1. And then finally, at 250 to 1, Pat, why would you not throw a little quarter unit on Charles Howell III? You know what I mean? 12th Masters. You talked about, I think, on the DFS show, you said, not having patrons for Charles may be nice because he's not playing in front of the hometown crowd, hometown pressures, all that kind of stuff. Like maybe it's a little different for him. In the last 5 years, in his last 5 attempts at the Masters, he's made 3 of 5 cuts. And the cuts he's made, he had a 30th, a 19th, and a 32nd place finish the last time out. I could see it happen. He's long enough. He scores on the par fives. He knows Augusta. It just got to click. He just has to click the ball. The ball striking has to click for 1 week, for 4 days. And he could be there. And 250 to 1 is a long number in a field like this.
I don't mind it at all. I think for all the reasons you just said, I mentioned on the DFS show, I think no fans could be an advantage to Charles. So I think you and I have to at least throw a few dollars down.
Yeah,
On
we got to tip
250.
Charles. Yeah, in the betting
Now,
market.
a guy that just real quick, because he may have, and I can't believe this might be the last person we talk about, but and the shows are running together here, so you could have already mentioned it. But Ian Poulter, did you talk about him at 100-1?
I didn't. Mm-mm.
I know he's been, he talked about he backed out of Houston because he's had a little bit of injury concerns, but he's really looking forward to Augusta. He always, every year, this is one of his favorite tournaments. You go to his social media, he loves.
Yeah.
Like he's always drinking out of his damn Masters coffee cup. Like even if it's the middle of summer or something, or in the cold of winter. So he is, I think, just at 100-1, and he's finished well before. He was, I think, 12th last year. Had a 6th place finish back in 2015 or 16. So I think Poulter could be interesting at that price. Give us one more so we don't end on Ian Poulter.
No, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about a few other things though. Before we do, actually, let's talk about first timers. Let's talk about first timers. In fact, we have a voicemail. We have a listener voicemail from our buddy Tony V. I don't know who Tony V is, but Tony V called in. We asked for voicemails. He has a question about first timers. So let's take a listen to Tony V.
Hey guys, it's Tony W. So typically first-time players in the Masters do not finish well. However, which first-time player do you think can crack the top 10 or even the top 5, and why? Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Tony. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it, man. I said my favorite first-timer here is Jason Kokrak in the betting market. If you look at the first-timers playing, it's quite the list. Matt Wolff, Scotty Scheffler, Andrew Putnam, JT Poston, Colin Morikawa, Nate Lashley, Kokrak, Max Homa, Lanto Griffin, Tyler Duncan, Cam Champ, Jazz Janawana, Eric Van Rooyen, Christian Bezenhout, Seabez, as I like to call him, Abraham Answer, Sung Kang, Sung J M, Victor Perez, Sebastian Munoz, CT Pan, and Nick Taylor. That is a solid group of first-timers. I mean, really, really, really is. My favorite picks here are going to be Kokrak for the value at 100-1 and Scotty Scheffler for the value at 66-1. I just don't think there's two better values on first-time winners than those two names.
I think I like the Scheffler pick. I like both of them, really. It's I think I'm still going to go back to Wolff. I still like him, even though you don't like the value there. I'm still big on him. I like Sheff at 66-1. I think that's really, up as far as like guys I'm going to bet on. I think that's probably about it. That I'm like, I don't blame you if you want to throw a bet on Colin Morikawa because you like him. I mean, 33-1. I'm not going to kill you for that. Sung J M could be interesting at 66-1. He's a guy that we've seen. He's just. But the winning upside for Sung Jae is what I'm not sure you're going to get out of him. Like, he may be one that you look at when we see top 10 and top 20 bets come out. He may be one that you look at. But outside of that, I don't know if I would go with the outright on him.
Yeah, I think I would agree there with Sung Jae. Let's talk about a couple other things that I think people need to know. There's some amateurs in the field, as there are every year at the Masters, and this may apply for you may have a book that offers low amateur. You may have a pool where you're picking out of a column, and the last column is a bunch of amateurs. I think the ones to look at are Lin, which I can't pronounce his first name, Yin Yang Twin Lin, I don't know, but it's Lin, who actually returns for the second time as an amateur. Very strong player, but there's 6 of them in the field, and I think Lin, the guy out of Vanderbilt, Augenstein, and Andy Ogletree are the 3 that you need to pay attention to. Augenstein was the SEC Player of the Year in 2019, lost to Ogletree in the U.S. Amateur Final in 2019. So winner and runner-up is how they got in here. Ogletree's a Georgia Tech product. Of course, Georgia Tech known for some good golfers. But I think Lin is a really sneaky name there for low am. If you're looking at that, I would lean Lin or Augenstein. I actually like Augenstein better than Ogletree, just from a I don't know, SEC Player of the Year. That says something to me. So those are the two.
I think Augustine is he is a stud. I mean, he is an absolute stud. He may have lost that U.S. Amateur final, but I think, did he lose it to Ogletree? Is that who he lost it to?
Yeah, he lost it to Ogletree.
Yeah, I think he well, yeah, of course, because they're winner and runner up. But I think Ogletree kind of caught fire in that one, and I just feel like Augustine is just the better play if you're going with U.S. amateur or with an amateur in this event.
Well, again, your boy Lin is the first player since Hideki to win the I guess the Asian Amateur for the second time in a row and return to Augusta. So, I mean, I think you got to give an edge to the kid who's played it before.
That's true.
So I think Lin is the one. All right, let's talk before we wrap it up. Let's talk about some of these like nationality things, because you're going to have some of these offered on sports books. Low Canadian. You got Corey Connors, Adam Hadwin, Nick Taylor, Mike Weir. To me, this is pretty easy, and Connors is going to be your favorite here. I don't know what the number is going to be, but I think that would be I think that's a pretty safe bet to me. This is going to be a long course for Hadwin and Nick Taylor, and obviously Mike effing Weir. This is going to be a really long course for those three. None of those guys really hit it that far. Connors a little bit better ball striker, hits it a little longer. Now his third time around Augusta. I like him as low Canadian. Any thoughts there that are different?
No, I'm totally with you. I mean, when you just brought up, you said like you barely got Ken out of your mouth, and I was going to say it's going to be Corey Connors. I don't mind Hadwin, though. He's a great putter, but I just think as far as overall play and course setup for him, I think this is definitely a Connors week.
What about low South African? That's going to be another one. You got 6 of those in the field. Who do you like out of Eric Van Rooyen, Charles Schwartzel, Louis Oosthuizen, Dylan Fratelli, Justin Harding, and Seabez, Christian Bezenhu? This is a tougher one to pick for me.
I think Oosthuizen for sure is obviously the favorite here, and will give you the shortest odd number. But I would not sleep on Justin Harding. He finished T12 last year here. He's had some good finishes in the fall on the European Tour. I think Harding could be one of your longer odds guys in this range for South Africans that could give you some significant value.
Yeah. I don't know about Harding. I tell you, this is going to be this one's going to be dependent on the odds for sure. Unlike the Canadian bet there with Connors. I love Louis the most out of all these, but I do think he'll be the favorite. And I think in this group, I wouldn't bet the favorite here. I think EVR is maybe one that I'm looking at. Eric Van Rooyen, long guy, ball striker, can score on par fives. He is a first timer, but he's got a high ceiling, I think. All right, let's wrap it up with low Aussie. This is another, to me, pretty competitive category. You got Cam Smith, Adam Scott, Jason Day, and Mark Leishman. Now, Mark Leishman's been playing like absolute hot garbage. Terrible. But typically plays Augusta pretty well. Jason Day playing well right now in Houston as we speak. He's leading the golf tournament in Houston. Obviously also plays really well at Augusta. Adam Scott, Masters champion, also playing well in Houston. And Cam Smith, the younger guy out of this group, who has – I think he's got a top 5 at Augusta at some point, and he's been playing okay since the restart. Who do you like here?
Well, I'll go with the last guy you mentioned, Cam Smith. I think, I talked about him on the DFS show. I think that his odds are going to be, pretty – I think they're going to be kind of tasty there for the Aussies. So I like Cam Smith. He's got a good game for this course. He's shown some history here, obviously has experience. He's a great scrambler. So I think Cam Smith will be who, if you want to pinpoint me to one that I can gain some value on, and it's a good number, I think it's going to be Cam Smith.
See, I think I take the longer odds out of Adam Scott or Jason Day here. I don't think Cam Smith beats both Scott and Jason Day. So I think I take.
You think they're going to be longer odds than Cam Smith? Or are you saying shorter odds?
No, I think they'll both be short. I think Cam will be the third, third guy. Yeah. Leishman will be the 4th. I'm just saying I'll take whoever's number 2 out of Scott and Day, because I don't think Smith is going to beat both of those guys here. They're both playing well right now in Houston, and they both have a tremendous record here at Augusta. So there you go. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. All right, last thing before we end the show. It's been a good show. Be sure and check out the DFS show if you're into that kind of thing. We have one more voicemail from our buddy Marcus Griffin, who is extremely disappointed in the lottery system at Augusta. So let's listen to this last voicemail. We'll button it up.
What up, Tour Junkies? It's Marcus Griffin here, local Georgia boy. Some of this may be common Masters knowledge, but I got to know, I've never been. Is the lottery just a cruel joke? I've been trying to get in this lottery every year. I know tons of people that enter the lottery. I know nobody that's ever won. It seems like the only way you get tickets to the Masters is either you pay thousands of bucks through the secondary market, you got some business connection, or you're from Augusta. I mean, it seems like everybody I know that's from Augusta always has connections to tickets. They just send that shit in a envelope with your property taxes or something.
All right, Marcus Griffin, fellow Georgia boy. Also, he's a Nut Hut member. Smart guy, that Marcus. He sounds like he's very frustrated that he can never get pulled out of the old lottery system, and wants to know why Augusta people just always seem to have access. And Marcus, I would say to you, that is not true, actually. Now, Pat, very privileged. Definitely his family has access as badge holders. But, man, it is over the last 30 years or so.
I got through the lottery in 2009 or 10. That was the last time I got through, and I got Wednesday practice round tickets, which was good. But other than that, it's been, and I haven't even gotten women's amateur. I haven't gotten drive, chip, and putt ever. Even those that are just not as well. I mean, they're just but you at least gain access to the grounds. That's all you get really with that is you get to watch some. The women's amateur, it's okay, and you get to watch the kids and all that kind of stuff. But you really just want access to the grounds. I haven't gotten any of that in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, Augustans just the reason is because you still have a lot of old locals that have badges, that are badge holders. Because listen, my dad tells this story, and it drives me nuts to the day. That my dad lived in National Hills in an apartment complex, literally right across the street from the National, a driver away from Augusta National. And he remembers in the 60s or the 70s, people knocking on his door, asking him if he would like to go on the list and buy Masters badges every year and be a badge holder, because they literally needed people to be badge holders. That's how, nobody was going, nobody cared. And my dad, who in his 20s was like, I don't give a crap about that. No, I don't need they were $30 or something for 2 or 4 badges or something like that. And he turned them down. So we've come a long way from, but there were a lot of locals at the time, because that's where they went. There were a lot of locals at the time that did it. And so they're still alive and kicking. And so they still have badges. So that's why it feels like a lot of people from Augusta get them. But I think the last time the badge holder lottery wait list was opened was sometime in the 90s, early 90s, I think, if I remember correctly. It was early to mid 90s, maybe.
Yeah,
was
well,
the
they
last
don't do
time
it that way. They kind of, they're sort of dwindling down through the waiting list. So now the way I understand it, the way they do it is, if you're a badge holder, you may get a letter randomly that says you can appoint, a member of your family, hopefully you're going to appoint somebody younger that is going to get 2 badges. Who is that going to be? And then you put in who the person is, and then they get badges for life. That's one way they're doing it, is outside of the lottery system or not lottery, but the waiting list. The waiting list ended, and then they're kind of added that in for sort of your Augusta people, I guess you might say, or others that already have badges across the world. They've kind of done away with any sort of waiting list.
Well, I remember the paper in Augusta back in the 90s, saying that it was open at some point, and my dad still didn't get on it. It's just ridiculous. But in terms of the lottery, the annual lottery, there's not a lot of people in Augusta that win the thing either. It's just as big a crapshoot as it is. It's the badge holder folks, and also just being here. If you're here, you can buy them. I mean, you can walk up and get them, or you can take advantage of some sucker in Augusta that doesn't know what they have and pay them a few $100 and let them go buy some, some meth or something, and you can get some tickets that they hit in the lottery because you're here.
Let me tell you a quick story though, about like why you shouldn't lose hope when you get that first email that you've been rejected. Because the last time I did get tickets through the lottery system, I got a rejection email the first time back when they give them out, when it was like late June or July, whenever they send out the rejection emails. But then in October, I got an email randomly from the National that said, you have been selected to get practice round tickets. This is when I got Wednesday practice round tickets. And so I think what happens is, now I can't imagine anybody doing this. If they have people that actually win in the lottery, but then they don't pay for their tickets, or they don't do something, they don't, acknowledge that they want to buy them or whatever, then they redo another lottery again. Now, maybe I'm like one of the few that's ever happened to.
Man, I've never heard of that. Never heard of that happen.
That's what happened. I got the initial rejection email in the summer, and then back in the fall, immediately I got another one that said I had won practice round tickets. It was crazy. So Don't lose all hope when you get that first rejection email.
Yeah. Wow. Let's end on that. That's positive. End on that. There's hope.
Positive
there is
stuff,
hope.
yeah.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Check out all the content on tourjunkies.com. Let's get that bag, y'all. It's just like my girl Nita likes to say, let's get that bag, get that bag, hit some outrights. Let's do this. The Masters is coming in this weird, weird year, at least something not involving this election. So there you go. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.